I'm Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted, and the website, of course, is marcstevens.net. And just a quick video, and we got another success story, and I'm glad that Beth contacted me recently about this. Not too much information about this, but good nonetheless. In Washington, she had a couple of charges. They weren't all traffic, but I guess the big one was traffic, and they all got dismissed. What she did was she filed a motion to dismiss, which of course is based on a lack of evidence proving jurisdiction, and that there is not any evidence to support that there's a valid cause of action, that there's any legal injury and damage. And again, it's a code violation. So if there's no evidence the Constitution and laws apply because you're physically in Washington, it couldn't possibly be a violation of the code because there's no evidence the code applies. And I know some may say it's just assumed, but people who are honest, and we're talking about government, of course, they're not honest. They're a bunch of killers, thieves, and liars. They're predators. They're men and women who force us to pay them. Of course, they're going to, and people who are invested in that or are, the typical average person that has been conditioned to believe that that's true without any critical thought are going to say, well, they don't have to prove that. And that's evidence of a rigged game. If you can't prove the very foundation of the prosecution's case and they're allowed to just make a claim against you without any evidence, you got a rigged game. And we know that that's not valid. It's not fair at all, regardless of what the courts say, because they're not going to let us do the same thing. We don't get to make claims against the prosecution without evidence. The prosecution shouldn't be allowed to do that, even if it's considered a sacred cow. Like, oh, you can't challenge the application of the law. Yeah, you actually can if it's a claim being used against you. So any of the claims being used any claims being used against you by the prosecution are subject to challenge. If they're not subject to challenge, then you can't defend yourself. It's not fair. And if it's not fair, then according to their own rules, it should be tossed down and not permitted. One of them, they're due process violations. You're supposed to be entitled to a fair trial and a presumption of innocence, not a presumption that the prosecutor's claims are irrefutably true. You can't have a presumption of innocence and an irrefutably true presumption by the prosecution. So what she did was she filed a motion to dismiss and the discovery request. And again, in the discovery request, one of the things that we want is we want to know if the witnesses have personal knowledge of the matters they're testifying to. Because remember, Brady material is information that shows or that can be used to impeach the witnesses against you. If the witnesses don't have personal knowledge, the prosecutor should know that and should disclose that. They should actually explicitly state, to be consistent with Brady, to give exculpatory information. The witnesses I plan to bring against you to testify that the laws apply to you and that you violated them don't actually have personal first-hand knowledge of that. To not disclose that is a Brady violation because that's exculpatory evidence, information that is used to impeach the witness against you. So Beth filed that, and she said that the next day she got this. And this is a motion from the prosecutor to withdraw the charges. And so you can see this is actually signed in an order given by the judge there in the Washington court to dismiss the charges. Now, what the relationship is between the domestic charge and the no driver's license ticket, nobody knows. It's not explained here. There's no meaningful relationship between the two. So I think maybe it's just a cover-up. Maybe they saw that they didn't have any damn evidence and they decided to throw it out and make some ridiculous thing up like this. Who knows? Now, I'm not going to say, like in all the videos, unless we have explicit evidence that the reason why this was thrown out was because of the motion and that's the only explanation. However, if we do accept that it had nothing to do with the motion, that's not the only explanation either. It could just be a coincidence. I don't think so. If they had evidence, they would just present it. And again, if you see 1 and 2, there's no meaningful relationship between these two. So what the one had to do with the other in the dismissal is completely, I don't know. I have no idea. So while we do allow, because you want to be rational, we do allow for alternative explanations, you have to look at the one that the evidence strongly supports or supports the strongest. And here it is the motion to dismiss. Because if they had the evidence, which no prosecutor in Washington has been able to present, no prosecutor anywhere has. In fact, the critics will just say they don't have to do that, like we already covered. So, look, if they had the evidence, they would present it. And if they had a rational, consistent, basis for why the prosecution can argue without evidence and we can't, at least we'd have something to argue with. Instead, they just want to make inconsistent statements because that's all that these people can do. Anything to justify their unfair behavior. But I appreciate Beth for standing up for herself and defending herself against these predators, and thank you for sending me the documentary proof. If you disagree with what I present here or in any other video, we do 4 hours of Anarchy Radio here on my YouTube channel. I do stream my Saturday show, so there's Wednesday and Saturday. Let me know when you're in the queue, and I will always put the centers at the head of the line. And so you can get the details on how to join a live broadcast at markstevens.net. Again, my name is Marc Stevens, and congratulations to Beth for standing up to the predators. Until next time, salut!